I want to begin by explaining the purpose of this conference. The reason for this news conference is to identify the principal factors that are contributing to the ongoing deterioration of rural America's economy, and to specifically call upon the President of the United States, President Obama, to fulfill the promises he made to rural America, to eliminate those factors that have been preventing rural communities and small independent businesses from maximizing their full economic potential. You know, not in the too long distant past, the public, along with the local and state and federal governments, understood the superiority of independent small businesses for their ability to create value, for their ability to create compounding economic activity that benefited the economies on the local level, on the state level, and on the national level. But America grew complacent during its time of prosperity, and it lost sight of the two most important factors contributing to that very prosperity. And those factors are, number one, the fact that many diverse and widespread, independently owned small businesses are far superior in creating a solid, permanent foundation upon which rural communities can thrive and prosper. Far superior than that of a big agribusiness model, where the means of production and the people in the rural communities are essentially controlled and managed by big agribusinesses. The second factor we lost sight of is that we need clear, unambiguous rules that define the framework within which our free enterprise system functions. A marketplace does not function properly unless everybody participating in that marketplace abides by rules. And we have ignored for far too long those rules. In fact, in the last 30 years, we have lost 1.5 million small business livestock operations from the face of rural America. Let's put that in perspective. I said in the last 30 years. 30 years is about the lifespan of a well-cared for horse. 30 years is about one human generation. 30 years is less than 4 presidential administrations. We lost 1.5 million small businesses from rural America in a very short period of time. And let's put that 1.5 million in perspective. Folks, 1.5 million small businesses are more small businesses than there are people in 11 states in this union. More people than in the state of Idaho. More people than in the state of Montana, South Dakota, or Wyoming, just to name a few. And to focus that a little clearer, 1.5 million small economic drivers represent more people than are in 6 of the United States' 10 largest cities. More operations than there are people in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. More operations than there are in San Antonio, Texas, or Dallas, Texas. Folks, this is a radical structural change that occurred in rural America, and it was swept under the rug by big agribusinesses and by the government. And we have allowed big agribusiness to prosper on the backs of small, independent businesses in rural America. And folks, these are your farms, these are your ranches, these are your feedlots, these are your feed stores, these are your equipment dealers, these are your repair shops, these are your insurance companies, these are your banks. We have pulled from them the economic foundations that would allow rural America to prosper. Instead, we thought that if we allowed big agribusiness to take the place of our vigilance, they would look out for more than their self-interest, and they would in turn provide us with opportunities, and that has been a failure. A complete failure. Instead, we we're no longer as vigilant as we should be and should have been, and we allow these big agribusinesses to partner with government and to actually begin shaping the laws and regulations within which define our marketplace and within which you are forced to operate. And the effect of that is clear here today in St. Francis, Kansas at the Callicrate Cattle Company feedlot. Because here we have a clear example of the federal government enforcing rules that were shaped and defined by big agribusiness that requires an independent small businessman to meet the same standards as do the huge mega feedlots owned by agribusinesses, like the Brazilian-owned firm JBS and its Five Rivers feedlot operation with a capacity of about 900,000 head. Or like the nation's second largest meat packer, Cargill, with a feedlot of capacity of hundreds of thousands of head. We're requiring an independent producer whose potential to pollute is negligible to have to meet the very same standards that these mega operations must meet, and they must meet those standards because they propose a significant environmental threat. By requiring Mike Callicrate to meet the same standards as the mega operators, the agribusiness firms have legitimized their ability to raise their rivals' costs, and ladies and gentlemen, that is a violation of U.S. antitrust laws, and it is now sanctioned by the government. It is the very same policies that drove literally hundreds of small meat packers off the face of rural America. We once had, 30 years ago, over 550 meat packers that slaughtered steers and heifers. Today we have fewer than 100. The USDA at that time required these smaller meat packers to meet the same standards as the mega operators. The mega operator standards were based on their potential to have unsanitary conditions. But we leveled the playing field for the benefit of the agribusinesses, and we forced those costs upon small independent producers and small independent businesses, and those added costs have increased their vulnerability to financial failure, and we've lost 1.5 million of them from our industry in just 30 years. That's why we're here today.